Welcome to Money Muscle Mindset, the podcast designed to motivate and educate you on your journey to financial and fitness success and to develop the mentality needed to achieve your goals. I'm Zay Molina, and in this episode, we're going to talk about why most people quit right before the breakthrough. I feel like every single one of us has felt this way in one way or another, right? But basically, we're putting in all this effort, right? We're working hard, we're doing everything we need to, right? But it feels like we're just not seeing results. No matter what we do, right? It just seems like things are not working out the way they're supposed to, right? And we feel like quitting. We start to think to ourselves, is this even worth it, right? Why am I doing this if I'm not seeing progress, right? Why do I continue to put in all this effort if it's not working? But I'm here to tell you guys that a lot of the times when we feel like we're not really seeing results, right? That's not the case, right? Our results are just invisible to us. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, think about it, right? When you go to the gym consistently, let's say you go 4 or 5 days a week, right? And you're constantly putting in work, you're trying to get better, right? And you look at yourself in the mirror after 1 week, after 2 weeks, after the first month, right? What do you notice? Probably not a lot of difference. If you're looking at yourself every single day in the mirror, right? And you're weighing yourself every single day, right? And you barely see the scale move, right? And you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you look exactly the same, right? It's not that you're not making progress, it just seems invisible to you. When you look at yourself every single day in the mirror, you're not going to really notice any changes because it's only been a short amount of time. Same thing if you weigh yourself every day, right? Some days you're going to have good days, some days you're going to have bad days, right? So the scale may be up and down and maybe kind of stagnant for the most part, right? But you don't realize the body recomposition that you're going through. Maybe the scale is exactly the same as it was a few days ago, right? But maybe you gain more muscle, maybe you lost some body fat. Think about it this way. Let's say you're looking at yourself in the mirror every single day and you don't notice any differences, right? But after 3, 4, 5 months in the gym consistently, you see a family member or a friend that you haven't seen since before you started going to the gym. They're probably going to come up to you and say, wow, have you been looking out? Looks like you lost some weight. Looks like you gained some muscle, right? And the reason why is simply because they did not see you within that 4 or 5 month period. When you're looking at yourself in the mirror every single day, you're not going to notice many changes because it takes time to actually see progress. But when you see that family member or that friend that you haven't seen in a long time, right, they're going to notice those changes because they haven't looked at you every single day like you have been in the mirror. They're going to remember what you looked like 5 months ago, but now that you've gone through this progress, you've gone through that consistency in the gym, right? You're going to look different because they notice the results. And my point being, guys, is that sometimes results look like they're not happening, but in reality, they're just invisible to us. So when we feel like we're not seeing any results or we're not making any progress, guys, and we just feel like quitting, a lot of the times we just need to keep pushing past this because we really are making results. We just can't see them right now. And this isn't just fitness. This is also finances, right? Think about trading, for example. Let's say you open up a trading account or an investment account with $100 and your goal is to make 3% every single week. If you start with $100, right? 3% gain of that is only $3. So now you're at 103. Okay, now you're going for another 3%. Now you're at 106 and some change. The next week you go for another 3%. Now you're at 109 and some change, right? And it continues to go up little by little after that. So even after a few months, you're probably only at $120, $130 after your $100 account. But if you continue that over time and every single week you hit 3%, 3%, 3%, eventually your account is going to be in the thousands or even the 10,000s, right? And 3% of $100 is only $3, but 3% of $10,000 is $300. So you can now see that you went from $3 a week to now $300 a week. And again, it's going to happen over time. But you didn't change anything. You just stayed consistent, gaining that 3% week after week, right? And you see the progress is not linear, right? But it's actually exponential. And again, it's going to take time, but you realize that staying consistent has led to these bigger results. And some weeks you're only going to hit that 3%. Some weeks you're not even going to hit that 3%. You may hit 1% or maybe even have a loss, right? But other weeks you may have 5%, 10%, right? But the goal in this case is to average about 3%. And again, this is just an example, right? Just for the scenario, right? But the idea is, again, by putting in consistent effort, right, you're going to see results slowly but surely. And eventually they're going to exponentially grow to where you see bigger results. So again, you may not see results right now, and that's okay, right? This is basically a plateau phase, which I feel like everyone that's been going to the gym consistently, you've had these moments where you've been in a plateau. I know I have. But again, guys, this is normal, right? We're going to have those moments where we feel like we're not making any progress, but in reality, they're just invisible to us, right? We're making slow, steady progress. And I know this can create doubt and I know this can create frustration, guys, but we just got to keep going. And I know plateaus can feel disappointing, right? Where you feel like you're putting in all this effort, but you're not seeing any progress, right? It's just not working. But in reality, guys, plateaus are not failure. They're basically our brain telling us it's time to level up. Again, think about it this way. Let's go back to your fitness journey, right? And let's say you've been going to the gym and you've been curling 20-pound dumbbells, right? And that's what you've been curling for the last few weeks, right? And you're doing it over and over, right? And you feel like you're not gaining any more muscle, right? You're doing a body composition analysis and your muscle is staying very steady, right? No muscle gain at all in the last couple of months. Now, why could that be? Well, let's say your first couple of weeks in the gym, you're curling 20 pounds. It might be super heavy, right? You're only getting 5 to 6 reps. But then you keep doing this week after week, right? And you realize that now this 20 pounds is getting lighter and lighter. And now I'm able to do 10 to 12 reps with ease. So I continue to do this over and over. And after a few more weeks, maybe in a couple months, right, I realized that lifting 20 pounds is not that bad anymore. It's really kind of easy. And then again, I do my body composition analysis and I realize I'm not gaining muscle. Now, why is that? Well, obviously, guys, if that's the case and you feel like that 20 pounds is too easy, you need to now push yourself to lift heavier weights. Jump up to 25s, jump up to 30s, because our muscles can only grow when we're putting it under tension that it's not used to. We need to challenge our muscles with something that's heavier that it's not used to be able to make those micro tears in our muscle and be able to have them grow. But if we just keep lifting the easy weight that's not really challenging us anymore, we're not going to see any growth. And that's where plateaus come. So again, plateaus aren't failure. It's just now for us to now reach the next level. We need to break out of our comfort zone again, because once you get to a point where that weight is super easy, you're now back in a new comfort zone. So now we need to break out of that again and continue to lift heavier weights. So again, guys, success is not just a straight linear path, right? It's more like a staircase. Think about it, right? You're going to make progress. You start to see results, and then you're going to hit that plateau. Then you start to see results when you make changes, and you hit that plateau again, right? And we're going to consistently see that over and over, right? But when we hit those plateaus, again, it's not failure, guys. It's us telling ourselves that we now need to push ourselves to the next level. We need to challenge ourselves in new ways. And when we do challenge ourselves, guys, obviously this means our effort is now increasing, right? And we feel that when we increase our effort, our rewards should also increase. But a lot of the times, guys, that is not a direct correlation immediately. What do I mean by that? Well, again, guys, sometimes when we try to push ourselves a little bit harder and we increase our effort, right, we expect results to happen immediately. But we all know in the fitness world, that's not the case. If you were to get down on the ground and do 100 sit-ups right now, you wouldn't expect to have a six-pack immediately right after that, right? We understand that building muscle comes with consistent effort over time. So even though you challenge yourself and you did a new workout, you did heavier weight, whatever it may be, right? You don't expect muscle growth to happen immediately. You understand it's going to happen over time. Yes, you may have a pump. Yes, you may feel good right afterwards, right? But again, the muscle growth is not going to happen immediately. It's going to take time. So basically, this is creating a gap between your effort and your rewards. And a lot of people start to quit in that gap. When you're putting in all this extra effort, you're pushing yourself, you're challenging yourself, but you're not seeing immediate results. Again, when it comes to your finances, maybe you're starting with a small account, right? And you're trying to grow your account by 3%, 5%, right? And you're doing this over and over, right? And again, after a few weeks, after a few months, you may have only made $50, $100, right? And again, it may seem like this is not worth it. This is something that's very small. But again, if you consistently do that over time, over years, right, you will see that compounding take effect and you'll start to see your account grow exponentially. Again, all it comes down to is staying consistent over time. So when you push yourself and you increase your effort and you challenge yourself, right, again, don't expect immediate results. But if you do this over and over and you stay consistent, right, consistency is key, guys. When you stay consistent, that is going to help you, again, see results in the long run. It's just like building a habit. You can't expect to do something once and immediately it becomes second nature. If you're trying to create a new morning routine or a new nightly routine for yourself, right? Doing it once is not going to create a habit. You got to do it over and over again, right? And roughly they found about 66 days on average is what it takes to build a habit. Now, obviously there's different ranges that many people have said, anywhere from like 18 to 200 some days, right? But just for example, the median is about 66 days it takes to build a habit. So that means even if you did something 3 weeks in a row, 21 days, right? Constantly pushing yourself, right? It still may seem like this is something that's going to be hard to do every single day. But again, guys, it takes consistent action over time to actually build that habit. And eventually it will become easier and easier over time. But again, you may not notice it right away. You may not notice it after 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? But if you consistently do it, let's say for a year, for example, by that point, you probably feel that this is a habit and this is something I'm used to. So again, you may not notice the small differences that it's making by doing this every single day, right? You know, after 1 week, after 2 weeks, you may feel like, hey, I'm not really building a habit. I'm not really building something that's helping me change my life. But let's say you've been doing the same morning routine now for about a year or two, and you look back and you think, okay, wow, this used to be so hard. Now it just comes so naturally to me to continue to do this routine. Again, you didn't notice the changes little by little each time, right? And now it feels like, wow, I just drastically jumped from 0 to 100. But I think we all know that that's not the case. It's the little results that happen over time. And again, by you being consistent and putting in that effort to build that habit or build your body in the gym, right? Or continue to compound your account, right? You realize that these little things add up, and that's what leads to the monster results. So again, guys, right? Consistency is what's going to lead to your results, right? Don't quit before your breakthrough, guys. Don't quit when you feel like progress is stalling. Because again, just because you don't see results doesn't mean they're not there. Again, they may be invisible to you, but if you continue to keep going, you continue to push yourself and challenge yourself, right? You should see results in the long run. The difference between your winners and your losers, guys, most of the time, it's not luck. It's not genetics. It's not all this kind of stuff that we like to throw out there, right? It really comes down to who is the most consistent and who is not going to quit. Because the only way you can fail is if you give up. If you never give up and you keep trying, you keep pushing yourself, guys, how can you fail? Yes, you may have some losses along the way. Yes, you may have some setbacks along the way, right? But use these as lessons. Use these as stepping blocks to continue to keep growing, continue to develop new ways and new paths to help you achieve the success that you want, guys. And again, by staying consistent, that is going to help you succeed. So again, guys, I know right now it may feel disappointing. It may feel like you're not seeing any results and it's not worth it, but you got to keep going. Stay consistent. Keep pushing yourself, guys. Achieve the success that you want by simply just not giving up. Your breakthrough is right around the corner. If you continue to push yourself, you continue to do the effort that you know you need to do, right? That is going to help you achieve that success that you want. Stay persistent and know that your results are still happening, even if they seem invisible to you right now. So with that being said, guys, that's what I have for you guys on today's episode of Money Muscle Mindset. Again, guys, don't give up. Don't quit right before your breakthrough. Keep pushing yourself, stay consistent, and you will achieve the success you want to achieve. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll leave you guys as I always do. Remember, success isn't just about the money you make or the muscles you build. It's also about the mindset you develop along the way. Thank you guys, and I'll see you on the next episode of Money Muscle Mindset.